Now, this happened. So Bernie had this pretty kick-assitude rally, and I unfortunately couldn't be there because I had a show. I had the show scheduled before I knew Bernie Sanders was going to be doing his thing. I didn't know about it. So that was kind of a bummer. But it was a fun show. I mean, I'm glad I had a show. I had fun. But Public Enemy was there. Or at least Chuck D from Public Enemy was there. Check this out. Public Enemies. Wow, I just pluralized it for no reason. I just totally brain farted. I started reading the second part of the headline, like I started reading parts and said Public Enemies. That was, wow, that was the lamest thing. Hey guys, do you know that hip-hop group Public Enemies? They make the cool swankin' beats, yo. They're swankin' hip and for the kids. Thumbs up. Hey. Public Enemies. It's actually a punk band that predates Public Enemy, and then when Public Enemy really broke a pig, they were like, we got to change our name. So they changed their names to the Fart Skids. And yeah, check out the Fart Skids' new album. They're great. But anyway, we're talking about Public Enemy. Public Enemy parts ways with Flava Flav after dispute over Bernie Sanders rally in LA. You know, Flava Flav follows me on Twitter, so I that bums me out. This all bums me out. So the iconic rap group Public Enemy had an internal struggle over the weekend because, you know, the Bernie Sanders event happened over this weekend, and that ended with founding member Flava Flav being fired. Public Enemy and Public Enemy Radio will be moving forward without Flava Flav, Public Enemy said in a brief statement Sunday, according to Rolling Stone. We thank him for his years of service, wish him well. Flava Flav and Chuck D were beefing over the marketing of their group's name and likeness being used by Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, who held a campaign rally in Los Angeles on Sunday. Sanders used both Public Enemy's name and the title of their song, Fight the Power, on promotional items. Posters of the event said Fight the Power in red at the top with Bernie Sanders plus Public Enemy at the bottom. Rolling Stone reported that in a letter to Sanders, Flava Flav's attorney wrote that Public Enemy's endorsement of Sanders was false. Only Chuck D was supporting the candidate, the letter said. Here's what the letter said. Well, Chuck is certainly free to express his political views as he sees fit. His voice alone does not speak for Public Enemy. Okay. So Chuck D says he owns the Public Enemy trademark. Chuck D told Billboard Friday that he could perform as Public Enemy if he wanted to because he is the sole owner of the Public Enemy trademark and created the logo himself in the mid-'80s. Flava chooses to dance for his money and not do benevolent work like this, Chuck D's statement to Billboard read. He has a year to get his act together and get himself straight or he's out. On Sunday, Chuck D responded to a tweet from someone who said Public Enemy without Flava Flav isn't Public Enemy. And I would not. All right, so here's what Chuck D wrote. I would not have a Public Enemy without a Flavor Odette, Chuck D wrote. However, I will park it in the driveway, take off the plates, wait to re-register it when it's running right, and drive the smart card called Enemy Radio. Then we expect your Public Enemy support when that vehicle is right ready. Chuck D also tweeted, last final note, the last final note was my last straw was long ago. It's not about Bernie with Flav. He don't know the difference between Barry Sanders or Bernie Sanders. He don't know either. Now, that's in reference to what happened at a Garth Brooks show. So for those of you that don't know, and this is another Music Monday-centric story, at a Garth Brooks concert, Garth Brooks was in Detroit, at least I'm pretty sure it was in Detroit, and he was wearing a Barry Sanders jersey. Barry Sanders, the legendary running back, who was a running back for the Detroit Lions, which, you know, he was arguably the best running back in the game for a long time, you know, and I say arguably because, you know, I'm not an expert on football or anywhere close. Like I'm not, and I know like football experts, they can dispute who was the best and who wasn't all day. And I have no dog in that fight at all, which is a weird pun to make considering what Michael Vick got in trouble for. But anyway, or a weird phrase to use. It's not a pun. It's a, you know, phrase, but, you get the idea. So, but Barry Sanders, legendary running back for the Detroit Lions, he had on a Barry Sanders jersey in Detroit, and they thought it was, a bunch of fans thought it was a Bernie Sanders thing, and they got mad at him. They got mad at him because they thought he endorsed Bernie Sanders. And I'm thinking, do those same Garth Brooks fans think that he is the guy from Wayne's World? Like, do they yell "Party on, Garth" to him? Like, the same name. I don't know. What's the difference? Same name. But so Public Enemy, yeah. So anyway, they're parting ways here. So who's Flavor Flav supporting? You know, like what is? I don't understand how any creative type wouldn't want to be behind Bernie Sanders. I mean, I just don't like, and I understand that you know, people have different political perspectives for different reasons. I understand that. I'm not trying to like, but I just feel like when you come from the creative class, where it's such a common story. I mean, you know, I've been a comedian for over a decade now, and it is very sad. And part of the reason I feel the way I do about the world, and in particularly about healthcare, is, well, there's a number of reasons. When I was 18 years old, or actually I was a little older than that, but I was seeing this girl who, you know, she didn't have the best relationship in the world with her paternal father, who, you know, she didn't see him much or anything like that, but he paid for her health care because he had to. And when she turned 18, he just took her off his health care. Legally, he could, so he did. And her mom didn't have a job that provided health insurance, neither did her stepdad. So she didn't know if she was going to be able to stay in school because she was over 18. She did not have health insurance. And I was blown away that something like that could happen in a country like the United States. And from that day forward, I mean, before I didn't understand it, you know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't cognizant of that stuff. I had healthcare growing up because of my parents' job, because I was a dependent. And then I was in college myself. And I just never knew something like that could happen. You know, I was fortunate enough to not have to realize that that was the world we lived in. And from that day forward, I became a huge supporter of single-payer healthcare, to the point that in 2008, I didn't want to get behind Barack Obama right away because he didn't support single-payer healthcare. Dennis Kucinich did. So I supported Dennis Kucinich. You know, eventually supported Obama, but, you know, supported Dennis Kucinich at the beginning. And, you know, another reason that theme really gets driven home for me on a personal level is because, you know, I am part of the creative class, and I have been most of my adult life. So I can't even begin to tell you how common the story is of, oh, they found something, and this could have been stopped and prevented, but so-and-so didn't go to the doctor every year because they don't have health insurance. That is such a common story in the industry in which I labor. So I don't understand how anybody dwelling in an industry like that couldn't at least, I mean, maybe you are against other, you know, other policy ideas of a Bernie Sanders or whatever, but healthcare, like I don't get it. I really don't get how anybody, especially in the creative class, where you see the effects of not having universal health care. You see the effects of that firsthand, where the richest country in the world doesn't have the type of healthcare system that other countries take for granted. That it's just like, yeah, of course we have that. Every other industrialized country in the world, except for us. And when you see the effects of that firsthand so often, which you will if you're a creative professional, if you're a musician or a comedian or a poet, and I know all kinds of other people do. I know low-wage workers see it firsthand. I know all kinds of people see it firsthand. But I don't understand, like what is Flavor Flav behind? Like what does he think is better? And I know it's like, well, Ron, you know, people, you know, when people get money, sometimes it kind of, they have the blinders on. They can't see over those dollar bills, those stacks of dollar bills. They can't see over it to see the big picture. It's like, okay, well, Dick Van Dyke can. That guy, 98 years old, spoke at the Bernie rally over the weekend. Killer Mike sure gets it. Killer Mike, I mean, that guy's speeches on Bernie have brought me to tears multiple times. It's incredible. I mean, and Killer Mike, speaking about Bernie, is so freaking powerful. And, of course, Run the Jewels on tour with Rage Against the Machine right now. He gets it. I'm pretty sure Killer Mike's doing fine financially. I think he's doing pretty okay. You know, Danny DeVito gets it. Danny DeVito, they go by, the Hollywood tour buses and stuff. They go by Danny DeVito's house. He's like one of the houses that they show. And I know that because I have some friends that work on those things, and they say Danny DeVito has always been like the nicest guy. He will, if he's around, he'll come out, he'll wave, he'll sign autographs, take pictures with tourists, tell them he hopes they have a fun time in Los Angeles. That's the kind of guy he is. I've never met him. I hope I get to. But anyway, Danny DeVito gets it. Pretty sure Danny DeVito's doing fine. Danny DeVito, he's got a buck or two. He gets it. Rage Against the Machine gets it. They're fine. They got money. So, yeah, it's sad to see something like this happen. And in principle, I understand the principle of it where it's like, well, this is our brand, and some of us might not want to loan our brand to a certain thing. And guys, I got to tell you, that's one of the reasons I like being a solo artist. That's one of the reasons if I want to lend my name to anything or not lend my name to anything, I just have my internal monologue. Hey, Ron, do we like this thing? Yeah. Do we want to support it? Yeah. Go for it. That's it. I do not have any band members that I have to discuss things with. I get to just make that judgment call as a solo practitioner, if you will, or a solo artist, whatever you want to call it. And that's a nice place to be in. So, yeah, this is a bummer to see this. This is a bummer to see Public Enemy parting ways over this. But, I am sure that the event was pretty badass. I'm still bummed out I couldn't be there, but I'm sure it was pretty awesome.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and